So, we must ask ourselves, what is the dictionary definition of terrorism? The systematic use of terror, especially as a means of coercion. But what is terror? According to the dictionary I hold in my hand, terror is violent or destructive acts, such as bombing, committed by groups in order to intimidate a population or government into granting their demands. So what's a terrorist?
They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. When they put it on me, I tell them this: I'm all about peace and love. They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. Insulting my intelligence. Oh, how these people judge.
It seems like the ragheads and packies are worrying your dad, but your dad's favorite food is curry and kebab. It's funny but it's sad how they make your mummy hurry with her bags, rather read the Sun and study all the facts. Tell me, what's the bigger threat to human society? BAE systems or homemade IEDs, remote control drones killing off human lives, or man with homemade bomb committing suicide? I know you were terrified when you saw the towers fall. It's all terror, but some forms are more powerful. It seems nuts, how could there be such agony when more Israelis die from peanut allergies? It's like the definition didn't ever exist. I guess it's all just dependent who your nemesis is. Irrelevant how eloquent the rhetoric peddler is. They're telling fibs, now tell us who the terrorist is.
They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. When they put it on me, I tell them this: I'm all about peace and love. They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. Insulting my intelligence. Oh, how these people judge.
Lumumba was democracy, Mossadegh was democracy, AND was democracy. Hypocrisy, it bothers me. Call you terrorists if you don't wanna be a colony. Refuse to bow down to a policy of robbery. It's terrorism, my lyrics. When more Vietnam vets killed themselves after the war than died in it. This is very basic. One nation in the world has over 1,000 military bases. They say it's religion, when clearly it isn't. It's not just Muslims that oppose your imperialism. It's Hugo Chavez a Muslim? Nah, I didn't think so. Is Castro a Muslim? Nah, I didn't think so. It's like the definition didn't ever exist. I guess it's all just dependent who your nemesis is. Irrelevant how eloquent the rhetoric peddler is. They're telling fibs, now tell us who the terrorist is.
They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. When they put it on me, I tell them this: I'm all about peace and love. They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. Insulting my intelligence. Oh, how these people judge. You think that I don't know, but I know. You think that we don't know, but we know.
Was building 7 terrorism, was now no thermite terrorism. Diego Garcia was terrorism. I am conscious, the conscious were terrorism. Phosphorus that burns hands, that is terrorism. Erdogan and Stern gang, that was terrorism. What they did in Hiroshima was terrorism. What they did in Fallujah was terrorism. Mandela, ANC, they call terrorism. Jerry Adams, IRA, they call terrorism. Eric Prince, Blackwater was terrorism. Oklahoma, McVeigh, that was terrorism. Everyday USA, that is terrorism. Everyday UK, that is terrorism. Every day.
That we don't know what we do.
Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Light Within. I'm going to continue on volume 2 of the Zep Tepi. I got it right this time. It's funny, actually, I swear a long time ago they called it Tep Zepi, but Zep Tepi. But welcome back. Let's continue on. Hopefully it'll be another beautiful, peaceful day. I got this new tripod here, and it's giving me some issues, but let's continue on. So, Abraham, the father of both the Ishmaelites and the Israelites, spoke Arabic. The Arabic continued through Abraham's two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, and was passed on to the two sons of Ishmael and Isaac. When the children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, they lost their original tongue of the Arabic and began to speak a hybrid form of Arabic, which today we call Hebrew. The Israelites were just like today's African Hamite people held captive in the Western Hemisphere by the children of Gog and Magog. None of us, as far as I know, has retained our original African tongues. We all speak the languages of our slave masters of the Western Hemisphere: English, French, Portuguese, and Spanish. The same thing happened to Israel, but to a much lesser extent than it has happened to African Hamites here in the slave quarters of the Western Hemisphere. However, the Israelites did lose the original name of the Creator, Allah. And here's proof. If we go to Exodus in the Bible, make sure you get the old King James Version of the Bible. All right. Exodus 3, verse 13 and 14. Okay. Clicks. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come into the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, Eshayed, Ehi, I am that I am, right? And he said, Thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ehi, I am, have sent me unto you. Okay, so that's Exodus 3, verse 13 and 14. The Israelites had become so oppressed that they began to assimilate into Egyptian system, wanting to be Egyptians themselves and forgetting who they were and where they came from. They even forgot the name of their God and the religion of their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace and blessings be upon them, which they had lost because of their transgressions against the law of God, Creator. Okay, Genesis 1, verse 2, And the earth without form and void and darkness was upon the face of the deep, the Egyptian neter, right? Nun. And the Spirit of God, the Egyptian neter, Ra, okay, Ra means light. Now, Ra means light. It's one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, light, right? Moved upon the face of Nun, the waters, okay? Now, if you look at the Holy Quran, Surah 21, verse 30, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Or do not those who cover the truth see that the heavens and the earth were ratkan, okay, closed up like one thing instead of two, and we ripped it open into two. This refers to the Nun, which is the seed that contains all existence, being split into two, the Shu and the Tefnut, okay, in the Egyptian language. And we made from water, Nun, everything living. Will they not then believe? Okay, so the above is a perfect description of the Egyptian Neter Ra acting upon Nun, causing the primordial waters to evolve through the action of the Egyptian Neter Khebera, the evolver, from which all living things are created from. Okay, so and when we use the Quran, is the same as the Elohim, which is plural form of El, E-L in the Torah. So we also applies to the Egyptian Neters of Ra, okay, light, on the attributes of God, Nun and Khepera, the first three steps in the creational process. Okay, it is not the royal we that monarchs use, as most of the Arab commentators claim, but rather the we refers to the Egyptian Neters, and the Elohim of the Torah expresses the creational process, right? So, for example, Genesis 1, verse 3 to 5. And Elohim, the gods, right, said, Let there be light, and there was light. And Elohim, the gods, saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, so as it explains here, he is the breaker of the morning. Okay, now here we go. And also in the Quran, Surah 6, verse 97, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, He is the breaker of the morning, and He made the night as a tranquilizer, and the sun and the moon as a means to reckon time by. That is the decree of the mighty, the all-knowing one. Okay? So the light spoken of here is the divine, sublime, indescribable light that pervades throughout the universe. Okay? Allah is Nur, Samawati wal Ard, right? Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Ra, light, okay? It's the light of the heavens and the earth, okay? What I'm saying here, trying to explain to you here, is that since ancient times, they worshipped Allah, okay? Since the very first civilization, they were worshiping Allah, okay? But He was known through their language, okay? Just like how we say God in English, we say Allah in Arabic, okay? Allah, okay? Elohim, okay? These are all connected, okay? Now, if we look at the Surah 24, verse 35, Allah is the light of the heaven and the earth. The likeness of His like is like a niche, and in it is a lamp. The lamp is in a glass. The glass is like it were a bright star, lit from a blessed tree, an olive tree, not of the east nor of the west. Its oil is exceedingly bright, though fire never touches it. Light upon light. Allah guides to His light whomever He wants to. And Allah strikes metaphors for humanity, and Allah knows all things. Okay? Now let's go to Genesis 1, 6 through 8. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, Nun, and let it divide the waters, the Egyptian letter Nun, from the waters, Nun. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament, Nun, from the waters which were above the firmament. Okay? The Egyptian letter means Nut, the sky, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, Nut in Egyptian Chemite theology, right? In the evening and the morning were the second day. So, Ra is the primordial will of Allah that generates heat. The heat generated by the will of Allah, Ra, light, when applied to the primordial water of Nun, causes evaporation in the primordial waters. Okay, the evaporated water, which is now in the form of a gas, rises to form clouds, which after cooling becomes water again, rain, and falls back into Nun, which is still a watery mass at this point of creation. Okay, now let's go back to Genesis 1, verse 9 to 13. And God said, let the waters, the Egyptian letter Tefnu, under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land, the Egyptian letter Geb, appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, or netter, or Gib. Okay, the Egyptian letter Gib. And the gathering together of the water, Tefnu, called He seas, and God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and the herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good, and God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning was the third day. Okay, so here's the separation of water, the Egyptian neter Tifnu, from the earth, the Egyptian neter Tib, takes place. So this phase of creation is the creation of the mineral world. Okay, after the separation of Tefnu from Gib, or the water from the earth, the force of procreation takes over. The force of procreation is the force of attraction, the opposite of the force of separation. Okay, in humanity, the force of procreation and attraction is in its highest form, love. Okay, when directed back to Allah, your creator. In nature, it is expressed in opposites, attracting opposites. Okay, so Surah 6, verse 100, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it is stated, and He it is who sends down from the heaven water. Then we bring forth all kinds of vegetation. Then we bring forth from it green. Okay, foliage, and we cause to come from it clustered grain, and from the date palm, from the sheaves of it come forth clusters of dates, easily accessible, and gardens of grapes, and the olive and the pomegranate, alike and not alike. Observe its fruit when it bears fruit and then ripens. Surely there are signs for people who believe. Okay. So after the mingling of water, semen, with the earth, okay, the womb, okay, water, semen in the earth is the womb. Vegetation is born and spreads across the earth and in the sea. Okay, this is the creation of the vegetable world. Okay, there are many worlds. Okay, so now we go back to Genesis 1, verse 14 to 19, and it says, "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, and give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light, the sun, Ra, right, light, to rule the day, and the lesser light, the moon, Osiris in Egyptian, right, to rule the night. He made the stars, the other nethers, okay, also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light and for the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Okay, so this is speaking about the creation of the sun and the moon and the planets. The nature of the sun generates light and heat to the earth. There is no other source of heat and light for the planet Earth like the heat and light generated by the sun. What is light? Light is that which manifests what is hidden. Amen, right? So light from the sun is also knowledgeable, while darkness, its opposite, relates to ignorance. Okay, so Allah makes the sun, moon, and planets to provide light and a means for time and guidance to be established upon. Okay, now in the Surah of Al-Rad, the thunder, in the Holy Quran, verse 13, Surah 13, verse 2 to 4. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah is He who raised the heavens without pillars, that you may see it. Then He settled upon the throne, and He completed the sun and the moon. Each pursues its course to an appointed time. He regulates the affair and explains the signs to exalt you to certainty of your meeting your Lord. And He it is who spread out the earth, and He put mountains and rivers in it, and every kind of fruit, and He made two sexes. He covers the day with night. Okay, truly in this there are signs for people who contemplate. And in the earth are paths connected to one another, and gardens of grapevines, and fields of corn, and date palms that grow together, and others that don't grow together. Okay, He grows together. Okay, He waters them with the same water, and we favor some of them over others of them in bearing fruit. Truly in this are signs for reasonable people. Okay, so now let's go to Genesis 1, verse 20 to 23. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of the earth. And God created whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after the kind. Okay, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Okay, so for Allah Ta'ala, God, Creator, has created the earth and the heavens. He has made vegetation to grow on the earth and in the sea for food. He has made the sun, the moon, the planets, the stars as the means of guidance, to tell time and develop calendars, to reckon the seasons by, and also to navigate by. The next thing He creates is the sea creatures, and then also the birds. Okay, it is important to realize that at this point that everything mentioned so far is from the holy scriptures of the ancient Chemite hieroglyphics text, the Torah, the Quran. And none of these scriptures contradicts modern Western science. Evolution as a part of the original teachings was falls under the ancient Chemite Neter Chefera, the evolver. The creation of the vegetable kingdom is complete, so the next phase of creation takes place, the creation of the animal kingdom. Then Allah seals His creation by creating humanity and crowning humanity as the Khalif, the representative of Allah in His creation. And God created man in His image, and the image of God created He him, male and female created He them. Surah 2, verse 30. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And when your Lord said to the angels, certainly I am putting in the earth a Khalif, a representative. Okay, so this representative is the seal of creation, and the very reason for the creation of creation in the first place. In the Torah and in the Quran, this representative is named Adam and his wife is named Hawa, Eve. In the ancient Hamite tradition, he is named Asur. Okay, Osiris is the Greek rendition of the name Osir, and the name Isis, Osir's wife, is actually Aset, Aset. Okay, in ancient African Hamite. Okay, so you have Osir, which is Adam, and Aset, which is Eve. Okay, peace and blessings be upon our parents, both of them. Okay, so most of us are familiar with the story of man's creation in the Bible, the Quran, but the story of man's creation in the ancient African Hamite tradition is not a familiarity with us. So in another chapter, we're going to look forward in our next chapter, in our next volume, okay, the creation of humanity in the ancient African Hamite tradition. Now, I notice there's a lot of noise around here. I'm sitting here in the park where I usually come and do my hike, my walks, or my morning walk. So what I'm going to do is move us someplace else. Okay, we shall be back. So where we left off, now we're going to get into who are the Egyptian gods, like Ra, Amen, and Amen-Ra. And we're going to start off with Amen. I got my notes down here. I'm going to read to you guys. All right, let's do this. Okay, so Amen was the name the Egyptians used for Allah, the one God. The name Amen, A-M-E-N, means the hidden, invisible one. Okay, so Amen was originally worshipped in Meroe, which is in today's Sudan, and was combined with Ra upon the conquest of Lower Egypt by the princes of Thebes from Upper Egypt. Okay, now if we look at the African Origins of Civilization by Sheikh Diop, in page 6, he says, monotheism, with all its abstraction, already existed in Egypt, which had borrowed it from the Meroitic Sudan, the Ethiopia of the ancients. Although the supreme deity, viewed in the purest of monotheistic visions as the only generator in the sky and on the earth who is not engendered. The only living God in truth, Aman, whose name signifies mystery. Okay, adoration, one day finds himself rejected, overtaken by Ra, the sun, or converted into Osiris or Horus. Okay, so the name for the one God is still used in Judaism, Christianity, and some parts of Islam. Okay, so for example, most Muslims, after reciting the first chapter of the Quran, Al-Fatiha, okay, the opening, they say the name Amin, okay, and don't even realize what it means. So Amin is not part of Al-Fatiha and is not even an Arabic word. Okay, if you don't believe this, then ask an Islamic scholar. Okay, I'm not a scholar. So what does the word Amin recited at the end of Surah Al-Fatiha mean? And is it an Arabic word? And see what we can find. Now, if we look at Edward Williams Lane's Arabic Lexicon, Part 1, page 102. Okay, I will leave on the screen the books and where you guys can go research it on your own. Okay, so whatever I teach you guys here, whatever I share with the brothers and sisters out there, go research it. Okay, go research what I say. Go look it up. Go read. All right. Spend some time reading. Get off the TV. So, in the book, in Lane's Arabic Lexicon, Part 1, page 102, it is said, okay, as is shown by the fact that there is no word in the Arabic language of the measure fa'ila, which is the same form as the word amin, from the misbah of el, okay, Fayumi in the Taj al-Arus, okay, and some pronounce the former amin, qamus, okay, which is said by some of the learned to be a dialectic variant of the misbah of el, okay, Fayumi, but this is a mistake. The Seha misbah of el Fayumi, according to authorities of good repute, and is of one of old date, originating from an assertion of Ahmad ibn Yahya, author of the Fasih, okay, that Amin is like Asin, by which he was falsely supposed to mean it's having the form of a plural, okay, and being consequently Amin, okay, and part of that is said in the Moham, okay. Whereas he thereby only meant that the M is without tashdid, okay? The M is not doubled. So like the S in asin, the muham, beside that, the sense of qasin, which is that of amin, from ahma, ama, okay? Not ahma, ama, would be inconsistent after the last phrase of the first chapter of the Quran, where amin is usually added, okay? And sometimes it is pronounced with imale, okay? Imina, as is said by El-Wahdi and the Besit, the Khamus, okay? But this is unknown in the works on the lexicology and is said to be a mispronunciation of some of the Arabs of the desert of El-Yemen, okay? Muhammad ibn Tayyib al-Farsi, author of the annotations on the Khamus, each form is indeed the siha with fethet, okay, for its termination, like aina and khayfa, to prevent the occurrence of the two quiescent letters together. In Arabic rule of grammar, the tadib of al-azhiri, the siha in the taj al-arus, it is word used immediately after prayer of supplication, okay? It is best expressed when occurring in a translation by the familiar Hebrew equivalent amen, okay, or amen. Okay, so the word Amin is not of Arabic origin, but it is of Egyptian origins picked up by the Hebrews while they were in captivity in Egypt, and refers to the Egyptian god Amen, okay, Amen Ra, who is the same as the Hebrew god Yahweh. So this is a secret that has been kept away from people. Just what do you think it happens if people found out, okay, that the Jews and the Christians worship their god Amen, if this was to come to light? Okay, so now if you look at Deuteronomy 7, verse 9, know therefore that the Lord thy God God, he is El, God, the Aman, or Amen, the faithful God, which keepeth the covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Okay, in Isaiah 65, verse 16, that he who bless himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth. Amen. And that he that sweareth in the earth shall also swear by the God of Amen, truth. Because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. Okay, so now let's go to Ra. Ra was probably the oldest of the gods worshipped in Egypt, and his name belongs to such a remote period that its meaning is unknown. He was in all periods the visible emblem of God, and was the God of this earth, to whom offerings and sacrifices were made daily. Time began when Ra appeared above the horizon at creation in the form of the sun, and the life of man was compared to his daily course at a very early date. As Ra was the father of the Neteru, it was natural that every Neter should represent some phase of him, and that he should represent Neter. Okay, that's from Budge's Egyptian Religion, page 100 and 101. Okay, so when you look at Wallace's Budge quotation that I just read right now, Ra was one of the oldest of the Neters to be worshipped by the Egyptians. Ra is not the true original object of worship of the initiated priesthood of ancient Shem. Ra was rather the first principle of creation and the visible representative of Amen. Okay, so the real object of worship for the ancient African Shemites, okay, was Amen, the hidden one, okay, or the secret one. Amen is the hidden one that the initiated priesthood worshiped and kept to themselves. The priesthood could only guide the initiate to the secret through the process of initiation. The secret of the Amen was given to the initiate not by the initiated priesthood, but by Amen himself, who is the only one who can reveal the secret. The sun was the symbol for Ra in ancient Shem. When the sun rises, all the other elements in the heavens, like planets, stars, and moons, disappear because of the strength of the sun's light rays. The sun is the most powerful visible object in the universe. If you stare at the sun with the naked eye for too long, it will blind you. The ancient Shemites chose the sun to be their symbol for Ra. Okay, it's all. So Ra was the original Egyptian name for the first principle of creation process, the demiurge or the will of Amen, right? Ra was symbolized by the sun when the ancient Chemad religion was in its purest state. So the first means of writing was in the form of pictures, and there is no better picture symbol in the physical realm to represent the demiurge Ra than the sun. Now, Prophet Abraham recognized the sun as the greatest sign in the heavens in the Quran. So if you go to Surah 6, verse 76 to 81, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and thus we showed Abraham the kingdom of the heavens and the earth so that he would be of those with certain knowledge. So when the night covered over him, he saw a star. He said, "Is this my Lord?" But when it set, he said, "I do not love which sets." And when he saw the moon rising, he said, "This is my Lord." But then when it set, he said, "If my Lord does not guide me, then I will be of those who have strayed from the path." And when he saw the sun rising, he said, "Can this be my Lord? This is the greatest." And when it set, he said, "O my people, indeed I am through with what you associate with Allah. Truly I turn my face and face the one who created the heavens and the earth as a Hanif," okay, one who has evolved. "And I am not of those who worship forms." And his people debated with him, and he said, "Do you debate me concerning Allah? And he has guided me, and I do not fear what you associate with him, except in what my Lord wills. My Lord's knowledge extends to include everything, so will you not be exhorted to remembrance?" Okay. So here the Prophet Abraham demonstrates the fallacies and form worship through the method of deduction. Okay, first he calls the star his God, but the star sets, and God is always present and never sets otherwise. Okay, so he would be weak because in order for something to overcome something else, in this case is to set, so it would have to be stronger than the thing it overcomes. So when the moon appeared, whose light was so bright, it overshadowed the light of the star. And Abraham turned from the form of the star to the form of the moon, and declared the moon his Lord, because its light had overcome the smaller light that the stars generated. Then the sun rose up, and the light of the moon was diminished by the brightness of the sun's light. And Abraham, peace and blessings be upon him, declared the sun to be his God. But then the night fell again, and the sun was overcome by the nightfall, and once again the star was dominant. Then the moon and the whole cycle repeated itself. So through the method of deduction, Abraham came upon the truth that Allah, who has no form and who is imperceptible to the five senses, was the true God. The following is taken from Budge's book, Egyptian Religion, page 31, from the Papyrus of Hunefer, okay? From the Papyrus of Hunefer. "Homage to thee, O thou art Ra, when thou risest, and to Mu when thou settest. Thou risest, thou shinest, O thou who art crowned king of the Neteru. Thou art Lord of the heaven, thou art Lord of the earth. Thou art the creator of those who dwell in the heights, like the angels, the prophets, the imams, and the foremost of the believers, and of those who dwell in the depths, like Iblis, Satan, and the jinns, and those who are condemned to hell. Thou art the one God who came into being in the beginning of time. Thou didst create the earth, thou didst fashion men, thou didst make the watery abyss of the sky. Thou didst form Hapi, meaning the Nile. Thou didst create the great deep, and thou didst give life unto all that therein is. Thou hast knit together the mountains, thou hast made mankind and the beasts of the field to come into being. Thou hast made the heavens and the earth. Worship be thou whom the Neteret, Ma'at, which is the law, order, and justice, embraceth all morn and at eve. Ma'at is also like the Ten Commandments. It's also like the Sharia, right? From the ancient times when prophets had their Sharia, their laws, right? So this is not a description of Amen, but rather a description of Amen's attribute as the creator. Okay. Now, if you look at the Holy Quran, Surah 112, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, say he, Allah is one. Allah is out of time. It is impossible for him to have offspring, and it is impossible for him to be an issue of offspring, and it is impossible for any to be like him. So any symbol used to convey the idea of God is limited. This is because the name and the thing named are not the same. The name is one thing and the name is another thing. For instance, take an example of the sun, right? So the Egyptians used the symbol of the sun to represent the first principle of the creational process, which they called Ra. Okay, the sun embodies many positive qualities that can be attributed to Allah, but the sun sets and disappears behind the western horizon, as mentioned in the text of Hunurfer. Okay, and the same is true of all the celestial phenomena, but Allah never sets, He is always present. Okay, and like we read about the story of Prophet Abraham, right? Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, okay, explains that prophets had come from the beginning of time, from Adam to Shif alayhi salam, to Enush alayhi salam, to Abraham, to Solomon, and Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salam. So, and every prophet had taught the same thing: the unity, the oneness of the one God. Okay, so but these are what the ancient Hamites were talking about was the attributes of God. Okay, so Amun Ra is simply the expression of the two attributes of Allah. Okay, Al Batin, the inwardly hidden, equals Amun, and Al Zahir, the outwardly manifested one, equals Ra. Okay, when Thutmose III, the prince of these of Upper Egypt, reunited Egypt by conquering the Hyksos, usurpers in Lower Egypt, his god Amun also conquered the Hyksos along with him. The principal form of God in Lower Egypt was Ra, the symbol for Amun. Thutmose III and the priesthood of Thebes recognized that if the conquest and unification of Upper and Lower Egypt was to be successful, the two forms of the same god of Amun of Upper Egypt and Ra of Lower Egypt will also have to be reunited as it was in ancient times in Chem. The result was Amun-Ra. Book, which is Histoire Anciente des Peuples de l'Orient by Gaston, page 237. It says, in translation, I have come, God Amun told him, I am following you, Thutmose III, to crush the princes of Jahe, Phoenicia, the Phoenicians, right? I am throwing them under your feet throughout their territory. I am making them behold your majesty, bedecked in your ornaments of war, when you take up the weapons on your chariot. I have come, I am allowing you to crush the land of the east, Kefti, Crete, and Asia, Cyprus, are under your terror. I am making them behold your majesty as a young bull, firm of heart, equipped with horns that nobody can resist. I have come, I am allowing you to crush the peoples who are resisting in the ports, and the regions of the Mitanni tremble under your terror. I am making them behold your majesty as a hippopotamus, Lord of terror in the waters, and whom none can approach. I have come, I am allowing you to crush the peoples who are resisting in their islands, those who live amid the sea or under your roar. I am making them behold your majesty as an avenger who stands on the back of his victims. I have come, I am enabling you to crush the Tehinu, the Libyans. The islands of the Dinians are under the power of your spirit. I am making them behold your majesty as a furious lion who lie down on their corpses throughout their valleys. I have come, I am allowing you to crush the coastal regions, the entire periphery of the great zone of the waters, Eastern Mediterranean, is bound to your fist. I am making them behold your majesty as the master of the wing, the hawk, who catches in the wink of an eye whatever pleases him. I have come, I am allowing you to crush the peoples who reside in their lagoons, to bind the masters of the sands, okay, the Hiron Shaitu, or the desert Bedouins, in captivity. I am making them behold your majesty as the jackal of the south, lord of speed, runner who prowls through the two regions. I have come, I am allowing you to crush all the barbarians of Nubia, all the way to the people of Put. All is in your hand. I am making them behold your majesty similar to that of your two brothers, Horus, Cain, and Sheaf, Seth, whom I have joined hands to ensure your powers. Okay. Continue on to the depiction that I'm going to put on the screen right now. Okay. It is depiction supposed to be, they call it Narmer, right? But it's actually Cain killing Habil, alayhi salam, or Abel. Okay. So Menes or Manu is identified as Enoch in the Torah. Okay. So the monarch of the first dynasty of Egypt was Narmer, according to the ancient African Hamites. Narmer is often identified as Menes or Manu, but the author disagrees with the assumption and believes, as J.C. de Graaf Johnson did, that Menes was the son of Narmer, whom the author has come to identify as Cain. Okay, so in his book, the Graf Johnson, J.C. Johnson, in his book African Glory, page 9, he states, before dynastic rule began, Egyptians were ruled by two independent kings. The first dynastic ruler of Egypt was Narmer and not Menes, okay, whose real name was Aha, means fighter. Menes or Aha was the second ruler of the first dynasty. Okay, so now if we further identify Narmer's or Cain's son Enoch as Menes, the first recorded ruler of ancient Shem. This is easily proven in the Torah itself and by Narmer's tablet found by James Edward Kubel at the ancient city of Nakan in Upper Egypt. Okay, and the picture is up on the screen. Okay, and in the center of Narmer's tablet, we see Narmer or Cain himself wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt with the mace in his right hand raised above his head, ready to slay an enemy captive that he is seizing by the hair with his left hand. The enemy is no doubt Abel or Habib alayhi salam, or one of his clan. Okay, so and right above the head of Abel, we see Narmer or Cain in the form of a hawk or a falcon, king of the birds, which symbolize the soul and the royalty of Shem, holding a cord in his right talon, which passes through the nostrils of the amputated head of Habil, or Abel, or one of his men. This means that the life of the captives are in the hands of Horus, aka Cain. Okay, the hawk or falcon is perched on 6 papyrus reeds, denoting the symbol of Lower Egypt and representing the capture of 6,000 prisoners of Lower Egypt, who are Sithites, by Narmer or Cain. Okay, behind the king is a slave holding the king's sandals in one hand and a vessel of water in the other, used for ablution of wudu, right, by the king for religious ceremonies. This means that the king is ceremonially sacrificing his captives to his god Amen. Beneath his feet, we see 2 Sethites fleeing from Narmer or Cain. Okay. On the reverse side of the tablet, we see Narmer or Cain wearing the red crown of Lower Egypt with his son Enoch or Menes in front of him, and 4 standard bearers, who were probably allies of Narmer or Cain, okay, with 4 different standards, inspecting the dead of the enemy, who numbered 10,000. Behind Narmer or Cain, we see the same slave that is with the king on the adverse side, holding his sandals and the vessel for the king's ablutions. Right below King Narmer or Cain, we see 2 soldiers, one a soldier of Horus, and the other a soldier of Habil or Abel, restraining 2 long intertwined neck lions, which are symbols of the 2 brothers, Cain and Abel, Horus and Sheaf, right, or Seth, they want to call it, or Set, who are being restrained from attacking one another. This symbolizes the unification of upper and lower empires under Narmer, aka Cain. Below that is Narmer in the form of a bull, Amen, battering the walls of a Sethite fort and trampling the enemy under his foot. Okay, so if we look at Genesis 5, verse 16 or 17, it states, "And Cain went out from the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, or Menes. And he built a city after the name of his son, Enoch, or Menes," right? Now I'm going to show you guys what that city is called. Just where is this land of Nod, east of Eden? The word Nod, N-O-D, means not only wandering, but also exile and fugitive. Okay, so when we translate the word Nod in the above verse as exile, the verse would actually read this: "And Cain went out from the Lord and dwelt in the land of exile on the east of Eden." Okay, east of Eden is the west bank of the Nile. This is due to the fact that the Egyptians, as well as Prophet Moses, salam, who was educated who was raised and educated in the system of Shem, right? Cardinal point of orientation was the south towards their homeland around the Great Lakes region of Africa, where the Nile begins. Okay, and where the verse says on the east of Eden, it is referring to a place of settlement, which contradicts the translation of the word Nod in the Bible as land of wandering. So, which would imply a nomadic lifestyle, as opposed to the agricultural lifestyle Cain has attested to in the verses that precede this particular verse in the Bible. However, when the word Nod is translated as exile, everything becomes clear. So the exile means that Cain and his clan resettled somewhere apart from the tribe of Adam alayhi salam, and that somewhere was on the east of Eden refers specifically to the ancient Hemite city of Nakan, okay, on the west bank of the Nile. Nakan is the city of the falcon or the hawk, okay. It's the same eagle, hawk, the phoenix, you see on the back of your dollar bill, okay. They represent Horus. The back of your dollar bill, okay, you have the eagle, right? It's actually originally it's the hawk or the phoenix, okay? So or falcon. So it is also, as its name refers, the city of the origin of the monarchy of Hem, depicted by the name hawk and the symbol of royalty, thus the city of Horus. The unification of Upper and Lower Hem came about through the conquest of Narmer over the northern kingdom of Seth. Cain kills his brother Abel of the north. This is what the story of Cain and Abel is all about in the Bible, but from the Hebrew perspective, thus the differences in the name of Cain for Narmer, Cain being the Hebrew name used for Narmer, and Enoch, the Hebrew name used for Menes or Manu. Menes is M-E-N-E-S or Manu, M-A-N-U. Okay. The original Torah written by Moses or revealed to Moses is the revealed word of Allah, God. Okay. However, today's Torah has been tampered with, and it's not in its pristine, pure state. So when we compare the story of man and his creation in the Bible, the Akkadian Enema Elish translated as "went on high," and the Egyptian story of man and his creation, the only differences we see between these different cultures is cultural and linguistical. This is because all of these stories are based on one and the same story, which emanated from one and the same source, ancient Shem. The ancient Shemites had colonized all of the Fertile Crescent, Asia Minor, Palestine, North Africa, Spain, southern France, India, Persia, and even Ireland. Okay, they had even sent expeditions to the America thousands of years ago and are the mentors of the Aztecs, the Incas, the Maya peoples of Mexico, North, South, and Central America, okay, which you can see hieroglyphs in South America. You can see hieroglyphs in America, okay, and Grand Canyon, they're hiding the hieroglyphs. There's an area where you're not allowed to go. It's blocked by the government. You're not allowed to go see those hieroglyphs, okay? They don't want you to know history, the truth, okay, unless you research it, okay, because they know people are too busy. They ain't going to research it. All right. But I did the job for you guys. All right. So, in his book, Sheikh Anta Diop says, The African Origin of the Civilization, page 102, quote, what then would be more normal that the existence of step pyramids in Saqqara in Babylon, Kushite city of Bel, in the Ivory Coast in the form of bronze weights, and in Mexico, where Negro immigration across the Atlantic is attested by Mexican authors and archaeologists themselves. Okay, so this is why religions of the Incas, the Aztecs, and the Maya peoples are almost identical with the religion of ancient Shem. As the African Shemites descended down into the Nile Valley from the Great Lake region of Africa, they first settled in Meroe and then migrated further north to the Delta region of Lower Egypt. From the Delta, they crossed over the Sinai Peninsula into Palestine and then into the Fertile Crescent, where they began to build their trademark paradisical river culture based on agriculture around the Tigris-Euphrates rivers. From the Fertile Crescent, they sent expeditions to the Indus Valley, where they would settle along the Indus River and establishing their paradisical river culture there, which also included their religion. These cultures were the cultures of Eden or the garden, and it is for this reason that the description given in the Bible of Eden mentions 4 rivers as being the places of paradise on earth. Okay, here's the 4 rivers mentioned in the Bible. Genesis 2, verse 10 to 14. And the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, the Indus, that is which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Okay, and the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium in the onyx stone, and the name of the second river is Gihon, the Blue Nile. Okay, the same is that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. Okay, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel, the Tigris, that is that which goeth towards the east of Assyria, and the fourth river is the Euphrates. Okay, so this river does not only refer to the Nile, but this is a secret which I'm revealing to the world. Its hidden meaning refers to the ancient African Hamite people descending or flowing from the one river of paradise in Eden, located in the Great Lakes region of East Africa, the source of the Nile, into the Nile Valley, where they created the first paradisical garden culture based on the paradisical river culture on Earth. From there, the river parted into four heads, or the African Hamites parted into four nations. The Pison River is today's Indus River in the subcontinent of India, which is named after the Indus River. Here, the two cities in India were built, Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, by the African Hamites based on the paradisical river culture of the ancient African Hamites from the Nile Valley. Okay. Now, if we look into a book called Man, God, and Civilization by John G. Jackson, page 247, he states, "Man of almost every shade of color are found in the great subcontinent of India, but the earlier inhabitants of this region were black. Their descendants may be observed in central India today. They are distinguished by Ethiopoid features, curly hair, and a dusky complexion. Their ancient forebears were described by Professor Lynn Thorndike as short black men with almost Negro noses." Okay, page 249 of his book, 227 to 249 of his book. Dr. Will Durant referred to them as dark-skinned, broad-nosed people whom, without knowing the origin of the word, we call Dravidians. Okay. The first great civilization of India was established by the Dravidians in the Indus Valley, where they built large cities, the principal ones being Mohenjo-Daro or Chanhu-Daro and Harappa. These cities were well constructed. Mohenjo-Daro was 2 square miles in area, with regularly laid out main and side streets. Lined with attractive 2-story brick houses, bathrooms were a common feature, and they were fitted out with runway drains leading to brick sewers laid under the streets. This culture reached its peak around 3000 BC. These people had domesticated cattle, sheep, and elephants, cultivated cotton and wheat, built boats and wheeled carts, and became skilled workers of bronze and iron. They even discovered a process for making iron rust-proof. The second river, the Gihon, refers to the Nile, and the entire civilization of ancient Shem that developed there spread to the rest of the world. The third and fourth rivers refers to the Tigris and the Euphrates, respectively, in the civilizations of Mesopotamia, built there by the African Hamites from Egypt. Okay, so in his book, Gerald Massey's, in his lecture actually, on page 135, he states, according to ancient tradition, the culture of Chaldea was brought to that country by a fishman, Narmer, whose name means a catfish or lionfish, who rose up in the first year from that part of the Red or Erythraean Sea, which borders up Babylonia. The original of this type can be identified in the fish god, right? Deity of the house of the deep and the divinity of wisdom. Whence came then by the Red Sea, Lipsius says from Egypt, so says Egypt herself. It is at least suggestive to find that the name and nature of Ea, okay, the oldest Akkadian form of the one God, okay, may be so fully explained by the Egyptian Ua, later Ea, okay, Ua or Ea, for the one only, alone, isolated as the only one. Also, the thinker and the captain of the boat, it should be premised that the Egyptian U preceded the letter or sound of E, hence Ua means Ea. the Egyptian UA, okay, I don't know how to pronounce that, which passed into EA. Also appears in the Akkadian UA for the Supreme One, the sole Lord of Chief. In one form, EA is the fish god, and the hieroglyphical sign for UA equals EA, okay, is fishing tackle. EA was the deity of the deep, okay, so I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Ah or Ia, okay, so we're just going to say EA, okay, was the deity of the deep. Remember Nun from Egypt, okay, and UA, okay, which also means EA, is a boat and a captain both. Of course, the fish was the earlier image, but the Egyptians had gone far ahead and substituting the work of their own hands for the primitive material types. So EA is the wise god, okay, the thinker and instructor, and Uawa, UA, okay, I don't know how to pronounce that, means to think, consider, and meditate. So it is to remember that Prophet Moses was around these initiates, these Egyptian high priests, okay, and he knew their secrets. He was a prophet of God. He had the knowledge well above them, okay, but he knew what the Egyptian high priests, and he was also well versed in the history of Egypt as well as the history of Israel. All the people mentioned in Torah up until the flood are ancient African Hamites. The first 6 chapters of Genesis speak of 2 distinct bloodlines, the bloodline of Cain and the bloodline of Sheaf, Prophet Sheaf alayhi salam. Okay, these 2 bloodlines waged a bitter battle against one another until the 2 bloodlines emerged once again through conquest and marriage. The children of Sheaf, or Seth, who followed the way of Ra, were called the children of God, okay, because they maintained the original way of Prophet Adam alayhi salam. Okay, they followed the Sharia, they followed the laws of God, right? Whereas the children of Cain who followed Horus were considered by the children of Seth or Sheph to be apostates and were relegated by them as the mere children of men. The followers of Horus believed the contrary and believed themselves to be the children of God and the children of Seth to be the mere sons of men. Okay, so now the children of Seth or Sheaf were termed the followers of Seth or Seth, and the children of Cain were termed the followers of Horus. Seth was considered the god of evil by these people, okay, by the people of Lower Egypt, and Horus was considered the god of evil by the people of Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, okay. So the story of Cain and Abel, as told in the Bible, is a story told from the Hebrew point of view. In the Hebrew story, Abel and Seth, or Sheaf, are the main protagonists, and Cain, or Horus, is the antagonist who becomes the cursed progenitor of evil in this world. In the ancient Hamite story, Cain, or Horus, is the heroic protagonist, and Seth is the villain antagonist, okay, who slays Osiris, who is the Adam in the Hebrew version of the story, okay. The murdered Osiris, aka Adam, is avenged by his son, Horus, or Cain, who engages in an unending battle with Seth. The ancient Hamite story of the battle between Cain and Abel is much more detailed and deals with the story of the 2 brothers in a much more detailed and complex cosmological context than the story told in the Bible. To the ancient African Hamites, Horus or Cain represents all the high qualities of virtue, courage, and physical prowess. He is the progenitor of the kings of ancient Ham and the embodiment of all the traits of the hero warrior and priest king. He is the god of the Nile Valley and the personification of peace, justice, fertility, virtue, strength, and agriculture, and blah, blah, blah. While Seth, or Sheaf, on the other hand, is the antagonistic devil, right? He is the personification of evil, the god of the desert, the nomadic Bedouins, the infertility. Seth is the slayer of Osiris, or Adam, and wages a bitter battle with Horus, or Cain, the heir of Osiris, or Adam. He is the father of the Semitic branch of humanity, and his followers occupied the fertile northern regions of the Lower Egypt, okay? As we can see happening today. That's why the oligarchs separate themselves from us, children of Adam, okay? They don't see us as equals to them, all right? This is what's happening in modern times to this day from that time. It's an ongoing thing. Like all the struggles between the two antagonists, each side sees itself as being on the side of God, righteousness, and virtue, while its enemy is the embodiment of the devil himself and all forms of evil. Once this is seen in an objective light as it relates to the story in the Torah or Bible, in the ancient Chemite version of the story are compared, it is very easy to see that we are talking about two branches of the same people who split apart from one another, whose religions and ideologies give different versions of the same historical facts. Okay, so when we look into the meaning of the names of Cain, Abel, and Enoch, and the relative estimated time when Adam, Cain, and Abel existed, the Narmer and the Menes of ancient Egypt becomes very clear. This is because the history of the ancient Semites and ancient Hamites is one and the same history, beginning with Adam, the father of both the Egyptians and the Semites. The Egyptians had two names for Adam, Atum or Osiris, and they also called Eve or Hawa, Isis, instead of Eve. Okay, Osiris and Isis are Adam and Eve of the future revealed religions. Okay, so we're gonna stop there. Okay, and the video has been long enough. So we will continue on our volume 3 of the Zep Tepi. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, any comments, leave it below. I will reach out to you guys. I'll answer any questions you have. I kept it real. I hope you did as well. Until next time. Peace.